Hey everyone, this is Brett Favre, Green Bay Packers Super Bowl champion, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packers content. Go Packers.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name's Clayton. His name is Tim. He's in Green Bay. I'm in Redneckville, USA, down here in the great state of Tennessee. Some would say the not-so-great state of Tennessee, but I beg to differ. Where obviously you can check us out on packernet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email the show at PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can also text us 865-658-5824. Tim, how we doing, brother? You ready to break down another position group here as we're starting to ease into the offseason of Green Bay Packers football?
You know I am, but first we got to talk about our DC potentially getting poached. I mean,
how dare you?
Exactly. Eric Sutherland in the chat said the Jets have requested an interview with Jeff Hafley for the head coaching job.
That's terrible.
It is terrible. I agree. But listen,
for us, not for half. You know, you don't want to hold anybody back, man. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, absolutely, completely agree. But I put a tweet out earlier. I'm going to kind of read it just because I kind of gathered my thoughts here. I'm not overly concerned about it, and I feel like Matt LaFleur learned from the last time he won 13 games, right? Really, he won 13 games. Coaching staff got poached. He won 13 more games. Coaching staff got poached, right? So I think he's kind of learned from that experience because it's something that really bothered the Patriots on the backside. When that whole coaching staff got dismantled, that's when you've seen the dynasty really start to go down. And obviously those coaches didn't have any success anywhere else, right? But without that cohesiveness in the building that Belichick always held together with those assistants, I feel like it really caught up to him. That maybe aged with Belichick as well. But Matt LaFleur, I think, learned from his from his past experience. And what did he do this year, Tim? What was the big move, right? We talked about he got Robert Saleh in the building, right, to help out. Did he think Robert Saleh was going to add this huge value to helping coach the offense and kind of self-scout him? I don't think he looked at it like this is a game changer. It was definitely an asset. But I think it was more along the lines of, let me start putting fillers out for all these other coaches that I've got a lot of respect for, that I got a lot of trust in, and we understand things similarly schematically, right? And it just so happens he's his best friend as well. And same thing with Luke Getsy, right? Luke Getsy was spotted in the building. Lo and behold, you find out that he's been helping as well. But I'm going to share the screen here. I put this tweet out, and this is just kind of my thoughts. I want to do this to so I don't forget exactly what I said, because in the moment it did feel like, okay, this is what's part of the plan, right? So the Jets have requested an interview with the Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley. Matt LaFleur was prepared for this, and quarterback coach Tom Clement's retiring. We mentioned that Tom retired yesterday, or at least he stepped away. Was it officially said he retired, Tim, or was he just stepped away?
I believe it was, yeah.
All right.
For real this time. I don't think he's going to come out of retirement again. I think his wife will kill him.
So let me kind of give you my take on the defense and the offense. I want to get your take on it, Tim, and tell me if I'm off base or if there's anything I'm missing here. On defense, I put the chances of both Robert Saleh and Jeff Hafley getting head coaching jobs is extremely slim. Obviously Robert Saleh, I think, is being requested to interview with the Cowboys, I believe. And, of course, Jeff Hafley is getting requested to interview with the Jets. I said if Hafley does get hired, then Robert Saleh becomes your DC, right? And what that means is, guys, I don't think both of those guys are going to get head coaching jobs. There's a chance that Robert Saleh gets a job. I'm not saying there isn't. It's a slim chance that both of these dudes get hired in the same hiring cycle, being defensive-minded coaches. Robert Saleh having struggled, right, with the Jets as a head coach, and that's the position he's kind of interviewing for, right, in Dallas as the head coach. And then, of course, Jeff Hafley being just 1 year back in the league, only 1 year of experience as defensive coordinator in the league, that might not be enough of a resume for NFL teams to hire him, right? Now, he could crush the interviewing process, and this could be a Matt LaFleur top. You guys remember when that happened? I was like, well, I don't even know if we weren't podcasting at the time, but I remember, and I've explained this several times, when he got hired, I went, why? I look at Tennessee's offense, and I'm going, man, I just don't see it. There's better candidates out there. Boy, was I wrong, right? And I guarantee it's because he absolutely crushed the interview. So Hafley could go in and do that, right? But again, the chances of both of those guys getting hired, I think, is slim to none. And if Robert Saleh's only choice here this year, Tim, is to be a defensive coordinator, I don't see him going anywhere other than Green Bay to coach with his best friend. They were best man at each other's wedding, and from what I understand, their families are real close. This would be a dream come true for two old college roommates to coach together as head coach and DC type of thing. So let's just stick with defense for a second. What's your thoughts on the whole situation? Does that make sense what I said? And maybe do you disagree there?
No, I think it makes a lot of sense. And I would agree that they're both probably pretty slim chances to get hired as head coaches. But I do think it's more likely that Hafley gets a job offer than Bob Saleh. I don't know. It makes me nervous. It's funny how quickly things change, right? We go from a fan base running our DC out of town every 2 or 3 years to begging and pleading that the one we have now stays. Right. It's crazy. NFL, not for long. It's so true. But I think, it seems logical, right? If we lose one, we get the other, kind of scenario. And, there was logic to bring in Bob Saleh to the facility this year and bring him in a consulting kind of role is to, get him rubbing elbows at 1265, meeting people and getting to know the staff and people in the building and, kind of gauging his comfort level with, what Matt's trying to do up here. And I think he was basically laying the groundwork for the position that we're in right now, which is off-season rumor mill hiring tree starting. Interviews are going to be happening. And I think it was just him trying to get out in front of any possible change. And I think the one thing Hafley does have going for him is he does have, albeit at Boston College, but he does have head coaching experience. And like you said, he probably will crush the interview. So hopefully he's late. Maybe his plane gets delayed or something. And the interviewer
maybe he oversleeps because he's hung over or something like that. Right. We're just
there. You go.
Out on the town. Could you imagine Hafley being hungover? I bet he hasn't drank a drop of alcohol in probably his whole life. He just looks like one of those dudes that's so in love with the game of football, he doesn't have time to have a drink of alcohol. But, again, Eric, thank you for bringing that up, buddy. Mrs. Green in the house says, any traction to the idea that bringing Saleh around may have put enough doubt that half thought maybe Matt LaFleur would stack the staff with his boys and should interview for a head coaching job. I mean, listen, we talked about that right off the bat. The fan base was like, man, don't disrupt this apple cart here, right? Mm-hmm. But I think that Matt handled it the right way in going to Hafley and saying, hey, Haf, listen, he's going to be on the offensive side with us. He's going to do self-scouting, right? But at the same time, Hafley opened that door and said, me and Robert Saleh are close friends. Robert Saleh was the person that Hafley was talking about when he was coaching at BC, when he kept talking about my friends in the NFL. Saleh was that dude, right? So I don't think it was an issue there at all. Listen, if Hafley can get a head coaching job, he's going to take it, and rightfully so, right? Yeah. And the Packers cannot block that. You can only block a lateral move. You can allow a lateral move, but most teams won't do that, right? As you can see, Kyle Shanahan blocked Mike LaFleur from joining his brother Matt's staff several years ago when he was with San Francisco before he went to the Jets and ultimately got let go. So
hear me out. Another scenario is Rich Bisaccia becomes just special teams coordinator again. Jeff Hafley is promoted to assistant head coach, and Bob Saleh is your DC. Do you think that's
cool, man?
That's a
it's possibility. It's funny you say that because Bill Belichick was the master at that. Tim, what he would do is he wouldn't even hire his guys as coordinators. That was his trick, right? What Bill would do is he'd have them hired as position coaches, and then the second that someone tried to poach them, he would then promote them to the coordinator job. And what you're talking about there is very similar, right? I'm pretty sure the rule is that going to an assistant head coach is a promotion. So if someone if Hafley did want to go somewhere else, they would have to give him more money and promote him to assistant head coach, therefore demoting Rich Bisaccia to just special teams coordinator, right, to make that happen. I'm pretty sure that's in the rule book, but I'm not 100% positive. But, again, you might not be able to block it's still a lateral move, so someone can't hire him as just DC. So the only reason I would see that Hafley will be promoted to assistant DC is I really can't think of a reason. To me, Saleh would fit that probably more. You know what I'm saying?
I'm saying Hafley being promoted to assistant head coach as a way to keep him in the building.
But that's the thing. You won't be able to keep him in the building because he can't leave as a DC unless someone offers him assistant head coach. And at that point, you do it, right?
Right.
So now what if Robert Saleh gets offered a defensive coordinator job in another place and you want to say, hey, no, we want him as our assistant head coach? Pretty sure you can do that to keep him in the building as well. Now,
so you're telling me there's a chance.
Again, I think when you get into the whole assistant head coach is technically a promotion, there's some rules that I don't fully understand. If anybody in the chat knows that, let us know. But pretty sure that is one of the stipulations there within the not being able to block a lateral move. Again, I think there's a good chance that Hafley returns and Saleh gets a defensive coordinator job somewhere.
I agree.
There's also a slight chance, a very, very slight chance, that Saleh gets offered a DC job somewhere else. And Matt says, you know what? I want you to be my DC. I don't want to lose you. Right. And then maybe at that point, like you were originally saying, you promote Hafley to assistant head coach. I don't know. I think more, if I had to put money on it, guys, I would say things are going to pretty much return the same way they were, other than Saleh's going to go be a DC somewhere. That's kind of what it feels like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But again, Hafley may go crazy with the interview. Emilio, you got anything to add to that, man? We're just sitting there talking about our boy Jeff Hafley getting, obviously getting requested to interview for the head coaching job there with the New York Jets.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we were talking about it all the time, kind of based off of that. Robert Saleh. Jets probably realized that it was a bad idea getting rid of him. Try to bring in somebody along those lines again, but like you said, I think the most likely scenario would be Saleh getting a chance somewhere else and Hafley staying here, and the Jets just figuring out another plan. Maybe bring in Mike McCarthy or something, do something crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see here. Joseph in the chat says, if Hafley is here, I want him calling 100% of the shots on defense. Completely agree, Joseph. I think that's how it is. I think that's how that structure is. I don't think that Saleh was making any calls. Was pulling any strings in that regard. Now, Hafley did say that he was going straight to Robert Saleh to ask his advice on stuff, because why would he not? Dude's got head coaching experience, and they came up in the game of football together, right, with San Francisco back in the day. So,
but again, Saleh was on the offensive side, right? He wasn't helping with the defense; he was helping Matt with the offense. But
Jeff Hafley at one of his pressers said, I went to Robert and told him, hey, if you got anything on my side, let me know. Right.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I think that was Matt LaFleur, that whole offensive thing. I think he did predominantly help on offense, but I think that was Matt's way of playing it perfect. Like, hey, Haf, don't even worry. He's over here with me. And then Hafley lowered that wall and said, hey, bring him over here.
Right. Because I remember, he's like, we're buddies. We talk. It's like not like I'm not going to talk to him when we pass in the hall and stuff. And obviously would, want his input. So definitely just, yeah,
definitely. All right. Let's see here. Let's move on to the offensive aspect of this. I said on offense, if Adam Stenavich gets hired, Luke Getsy is back in the building, who was previously LaFleur's quarterback coach. If Steno and Getsy don't get any offers, then Getsy steps into Clemence's now vacant role alongside Sean Mannion as the quarterback coach. That kind of makes a lot of sense, right? That was his role before, and he was pretty sure that Getsy was the quarterback coach when Aaron won at least one of those MVPs, maybe both, right? So keep that in mind. You guys got anything to add to the offensive side? I personally don't think Stenavich will get a head coaching job. I could be wrong. But the way that the offense performed in those last 3 games of the season, not that they were bad, right? But it definitely wasn't like, holy cow, this dude's just as good as Ben Johnson. We need to go get this guy, right? So I think he'll be back, and I think Getsy will be the new quarterback coach. That's just me personally. But I was listening to Matt Schneibin's interview of Matt LaFleur just a second ago, and Matt LaFleur talked about, hey, if Steno does get hired somewhere, we're going to interview everyone in the building for those vacancies, right, to see who is more prepared for the job. So offensively, you guys have the floor. What do you think about that?
I have no problem with Getsy coming back at all. And I think you were right. The 2 most recent MVPs, I think he was the QB coach for Aaron. I mean, it's familiarity, right? We know this is how this league operates when people put their staffs together. You want people you trust and you've got a rapport with. So, I mean, it's completely logical to me. I think it makes a lot of sense what you're saying here.
Yeah. All right. Emilio?
The only other thing I would say is I want Steno to keep hammering that O-line. I feel like we just want to, get back to our fundamentals a little bit more, try to square that up. I think when we bring Morgan back in there and bring some talent in. But yeah, I think, like you said, those last 3 games aren't putting them in the best light, but they're still going to give them a ring. But I think fundamentally, we needed a little bit more sharpening, and that, maybe another year with it. And I think he would want to kind of ride it out. I mean, he's been here for that long, unless he gets, like you said, a head coaching job, just ride this out.
Yeah, that's right. Daryl in the chat, good to see you, buddy, says Dan Orlovsky would love to work with Jordan Love. He's been praising him since last season, and it was mentioned that Dan Orlovsky wanted to put his hat in the ring of, hey, I would love to be the quarterback coach in Green Bay. Here's how I feel about it. Somebody asked me on Twitter, and I can't remember exactly how I answered, but I know it was somewhere along the lines of, Dan Orlovsky is a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant football mind, right? He truly understands the game. It's obvious that the reason his NFL career never amounted to much, albeit he made it to the NFL, and that says a lot, was because he didn't have the physical tools to be a great quarterback. It seems like his mind, other than running out of the back of the end zone, that one play that we all remember, which Emilio's done 500 times playing online head-to-head.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So other than that, he's a great mind. Now, here's my problem. He has 0 coaching experience, right, at the NFL level. So the thought of him just coming in and being the quarterback coach just like that, when you've got Luke Gessie, who's already seen MVP caliber quarterback play, with him being the quarterback coach, I struggle with that a little bit. I really do. Now, he could come in and be the next Sean McVay, right? The next Kyle Shanahan. And I'm pretty sure, I think they're friends, if I remember correctly, because he's talked about him quite a bit. I don't know. I personally, that's a no for me, dog. How do you guys feel about Dan Orlovsky as quarterback coach?
Yeah, I'd like him to just stay on TV and talk about
He's
football.
great at what he does. Is he not?
That would be great. Yeah, for sure. I mean, for a lot of the same reasons, like you said here in your tweet, right? I mean, vacant role alongside Sean Mannion. Sean Mannion's was brought in here to be kind of like the new guy, the understudy, wants a future in the quarterback room as a QB coach, and clearly they don't feel like he's ready after a year in the system. So I don't think, Orlovsky coming out of the analyst booth and into 1265 is gonna pan out well. But more power to him. Maybe he can grab a job somewhere else and get some experience, and then who knows what the future holds. But I'm with you, Clay. I wouldn't want him coaching our quarterbacks.
All right. Yeah,
I think I'm kind of right there with both of y'all. But I guess I'm not opposed to Sean Mannion kind of stepping up at some point. Everybody's got to get the shot to step up and do it if he's ready. He got a year behind Tom, kind of learn that base, and I would want to give the guy a shot maybe before, unless we find somebody outside that has just some completely. Who is it? Yeah, Joseph was saying it right here. Yeah, maybe not Dan, but those completely outside takes. Let's get something different in here. Let's not bring back kind of like the Kirk Benkert that's been in the offense, and sort of thing. Let's get something new. But yeah, I'd say, I wouldn't be opposed to Sean either, though.
Yeah, and if you go externally, like Joseph mentions here, I don't think it's a bad idea. Let me tell you who comes to mind for me right off the bat, and it's a coaching staff, not an individual personally. But I'd go up into Detroit and go, boy, they did some amazing things this year, right? Who can we poach out of their organization to step in? You know what I'm saying? Now, that's going to piss some people off in your organization because they've put in their time and they think, hey, if there is a vacancy that comes open, one of these assistants should be able to step into that role, right? Like Sean Mannion, I'm sure he doesn't like the idea of Luke Gessie just leapfrogging him coming in and taking the quarterback coach when he studied under Tom Clements. And look, I don't want to be a hypocrite. When they bring in Sean Mannion behind Tom Clements, I was the one going, boy, Sean Mannion's getting a first-class, training on how to be a quarterback coach and be one of the best in the history of the game at it, right? So you got that aspect as well. So, but yeah, I'm not opposed to external. And when I think of these dynamic offenses, I think of what Detroit did this year. It's the first team that comes to mind. Like, hey, maybe go in there and try to find a young, bright mind to pluck out of there. And also, let's be real. When you do that, you're getting a little behind enemy lines information about that offense as well, right? Maybe
That was your whole plan, Clayton. Come on, that was that you buttered us up with all that information, and you said I just wanted some behind enemy lines info.
Told you, man.
Detroit over there looking for their coaching staff. Like
that's the guy I want to bring in right there. You got one of those dirt bags over there crawling around on the ground. We can bring him in here to be quarterback coach, right? So, now listen, if you ain't rubbing, you ain't racing. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, right? That's how we roll in the South. Go drag somebody out of that organization, go poach them out of there, and just upset the apple cart touch. I just can't wait for Ben Johnson to be the hell out of Detroit. That's what I'm excited about. And it's sounding like, I could be wrong, but it's sounding like there's a decent chance he goes somewhere other than Chicago. The big name in Chicago is Mike McCarthy, obviously, here lately. How about Jerry blocking him on the interview the first time and then firing him anyway? That's a pretty dirtbag move there too, right? But Jerry Jones, hey, you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, right?
Jerry ain't doing nothing new, man.
Jerry said it's just
he's running that same call sheet he's been running since the 90s.
Bro, that AI video I sent y'all the other night of him talking about Mike McCarthy, it broke me down. It absolutely broke me. That was hilarious. Ron Sam in the chat says, Hafley and Saleh are friends. What do you guys think Saleh tells him about the Jets organization? Bro, that's a real thing. I guarantee you he's going
to stay the hell away from Woody Johnson's office.
Let me tell you about this Woody Johnson guy right here, Bob. He's a different cat, right? Yeah, I think that's real. I really do. And,
but I also think it's a great practice. Like if it doesn't work out for him, I also think it's a great practice rep just to get a head coaching interview for the NFL besides the Green Bay one besides the DC, get that kind of rep just to see if that's where you want to be. Because, I mean, he was head coach at BC, but he kind of wanted to get back to coaching defense and stuff like that. Maybe he wants to run that out for 2 or 3 years. You don't know, but at least get the rep of doing the interview.
Yeah. Yep. Coach Lynn in the house, good to see you, buddy. He says, that's been happening to us for years, and teams taking out the front office staff and our coaches. It's so true, man. It's just another way to try to weaken a divisional opponent, right, while adding to your coaching staff as well. And let's not kid ourselves. One of the first conversations they're having when they sit down is say, all right, man, so tell me, what do you think are the 3 things that they did really well that most teams don't even think about doing, right? Yep. And try to get that information from behind enemy lines. I think that's a real thing for sure. Joseph in the chat says, Dennis Leary had a hilarious segment on Good Morning Football today, just trashing Jerry Jones and the Cowgirls. We'll have to go check that out, man. Dennis Leary throwing that trash on Mr. Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is how you say it, by the way. Let's see. There was something else I think I wanted to hit on here. Pac Daddy was on one today making fun of Viking fans. Oh, did you guys see where Dov Kleiman, however you say his name, put that tweet out about Javon Bullard?
Yeah, lying, making up stories. Yeah.
I did not see it.
Well, it has been deleted now. So you didn't see this, Emilio?
I did not know.
Okay, so he put out a video showing this $100,000 diamond grill that Javon Bullard supposedly bought. To put on his teeth, kind of like how Justin Jefferson does.
Right.
It's hip to the streets today. I thought about doing it with some fake jewels. And what would you guys think if I got on here one night and just had the sparkly teeth? That'd be kind of cool, right?
That would be kind of fresh, actually. Yeah.
Of course you would say that, man. Tim's going, I'll never be back on this show, Clayton, with that dumbass accent shows up on here with a grill. I can't handle that.
I thought you were going to say like a corn kernel grill or something like that. You make a homemade one or something. Yeah.
Yeah. We could go. What would be the most redneck thing that you Let me think here for a second. Anyway, Javon Bullard said, "This is a lie. Stop making up poopy," is what he said. And of course, Dove just crawled back in his hole and deleted the tweet. So just want to point that out. I thought that was interesting today that he's keeping his ear to the Twitter. Old Javon Bullard is, and ain't nobody going to slander his name. This was a cool response to a Matt Ramage tweet, right? Rob McMahon on Twitter, @Rob_McMahon, had replied to Matt Ramage, who was saying, "Listen, boys, all you people dogging Jordan Love this year, don't come back in here acting like you were a fan the whole time when he turns it around next year," right? Right. Rob McMahon's just compared Favre year 2. Now, we did it wins and losses and the team as a whole, kind of trying to create a realistic trajectory of, hey, what's successful, what's not, with a team that's got a new quarterback taking over, a young roster, all those things. And we pointed out they won 2 more games this year than Favre did his second year starting as a quarterback, right?
Right.
He compared the specific statistics here. Now, I know people are going to go different era, it's different. I got you, I understand. We're going to talk about it, though. Favre, year 2, 3,303 yards passing, Love year 2 had 3,389 yards passing. So 386 more yards passing in year 2 Love had than Favre did year 2. All right. Touchdowns. Favre threw for 19 touchdowns and 24 interceptions. 19 touchdowns, 24 interceptions. Jordan Love, 25 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He said, Jordan will be fine. I'm looking forward to a strong 2025 season, said Rob McMahon, and all I put was perspective. Your all's take on that. Again, different eras, but that when you look at those numbers, it's like if Jordan had thrown 19 touchdowns and 24 interceptions, we would have ran Brett Favre out of town. We'll be not think about it today.
You think God never farted?
So thoughts on that,
Phil? That's exactly it, because you think about it, Jordan was missed, what, a couple, three games. So probably evens out a little bit game-wise, maybe, one less. But, yeah, why can't we give him time? Same thing like when we don't see the production out of the rookie, or same thing with people getting on Bull or all of that stuff. Everyone's happy because Coop turned it up at the end of the year, but we're kind of, not happy at the beginning of the season when he had his ups and downs. Let's give the kid a chance. I really do think he's made progress. I do think that he knows that at some point he needs to do that, that growth on his own, that maybe the coaches and they're hand in hand kind of thing. And I think he's going to have that coming out of this next year.
I agree. I've defended Jordan since he got here. So you guys know where I stand. I've been, screaming this for a number of years. We have to be patient, and you're seeing progress in some areas, and then in some areas you're not. And that's, I think, what Emilio's talking about, things that you can do kind of on your own to help hone your game in the off season, and, show up for OTAs and mini camp and things like that, with a more refined skill set. We talk about Jordan missing on some of these throws, accuracy issues. I mean, he's not missing by much on a lot of them. And, the decision-making stuff, I mean, man, you've got a whole season of film that you can dissect and watch throughout the offseason and, look at those throws that you wanted back, or, look at yourself making those what the hell was I thinking decisions and try to grow from it. So I think the more Jordan is he's a student of the game, but the more he becomes a student of his game and his film and, being critical of himself, in a constructive way, I think he's going to get better. Maybe year 3 is the big leap. It'll be what we've all been waiting for.
Mm-hmm. And, when you kind of look at how the season went statistically and from a schematic standpoint, we ran the ball this year way more than we've ever ran the ball in Matt LaFleur's tenure as a head coach. Now, is part of that because Jordan was playing hurt, right? What's crazy is we ran the ball more than we ever have under Matt LaFleur's head coaching, and Jordan still outperformed Brett Favre's second year. You know what I mean? Think about that. And significantly, too. It's not like, well, he had an extra game. That's the only reason he did it. Keep in mind, Jordan missed 2 games, too, right? Actually, probably 2.5, I guess is the best way of putting it, right? So, I really like where we're at. I do, at the quarterback position.
And then what's coming around him too. We were last in the league in drops. That's that needs to step up around him. Our O-line, we had some pressures. We had I'm happy how healthy we were through it. We had 15 of 15 starts or something along those lines. But the production at the fundamentals, footwork kind of thing, I think we really need to hone that in, see what Jordan Morgan can do, all that stuff.
Definitely. 2-0 for this says, I love the people that respond to that stuff like Jordan Love is trash or Cope. I just respond with him being 5th in QBR. And acknowledging in the same tweet, he had a down year. Pretty wild. He's still 5th in QBR, huh? Interesting. Very interesting. Yep. So, that's and the whole Cope thing, it cracks me up, man. It was like this big catchphrase, right? Cope, copium, all that stuff, right? And now what you're seeing is it's all the guys that have the gym selfies in the bathroom. You know what I mean? They take pictures of themselves in the bathroom mirror.
Super tight.
Cope hard or copium. I'm going, y'all sound like a bunch of dumbasses. Like, where is society at this point? But yeah, that seems to be the common comeback for sure there, 2-0 for this. Crystal Dye in the chat says, Jordan Love is money. Everyone has a down year at some point in their career. He is our QB1. There's no doubt he's our QB1. Am I convinced that he's a top 5 quarterback? Me personally, I'm not there yet. Next year is really going to be the tell of the tape. If he finishes outside of the top 15 in what I think are the most crucial statistical categories, as well as the tape, looking at the tape and going, he just looks like he's outside of the top 15, my tune will change real quick. But the thought of him coming back from an MCL this year and trying to play through that all year long, on top of, like Emilio said, with the receivers and the drops and everything like that, I'm definitely leaning towards he's the dude, right? So we'll find out as the year goes on. Coach Lynn, Jordan's that dude, as Rashawn Gary would say, stop playing with him. All right, so it seems like the majority of our viewers / listeners, you've seen it too. They are on board with Jordan here. I was just laughing because Donovan says A-Fan smoked crack with his granny. So that's back in the chat tonight. Appreciate y'all bringing that back for an encore. Let's go to the community Patreon channel here. If you guys want to join our Patreon group, it's an awesome group of people, man. It's really forming up together nicely. You can scan the QR code in the upper right that'll send you to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. And we've got a multitude of chats in there, one of which is questions for the show, comments for the show, that type of thing, where you can be a part of the show. If you're a member of one of those 3 tiers, you get access to the chats as well as getting entered into giveaways, which we just done a giveaway. Shout out to Mark Zambito, who won the autograph Carl Brooks photo of him blocking the field goal against Chicago earlier this year. And that picture right there stemmed from it. That's not the picture that's signed. I kind of wish it was. It's pretty funny. But shout out to Trevor Anderson for donating that to the show. But here we go with the Patreon questions / comments. Greg S. says, let me zoom in a little bit. Maybe everybody can see it a little bit easier. Greg S. says, well, first of all, Dave Colvin, guys, he said mock draft. We're starting to get mock draft requests in the Patreon group. And I do not want to deny
name in my mouth right there.
Want to deny the Patreon group for what they want because they are supporting the show. I'm trying to hold off as long as I can. If we have time at the end, if you guys want to try to go rapid fire with a mock draft, I can set it up and just do a real quick one. I'm going to try to hold off tonight if we can. Greg S. says, Dre Greenlaw is one of my favorite football players to ever watch. Tight end George Kittle said, quote, the energy that he plays with, the violence that he plays with every single snap, and you can just tell the energy that he brings to the entire defense and the entire team is infectious. It's unique. It's one of a kind, and he's an absolute unicorn football player. Greg went on to say he's my free agent. So let me just ask you guys that. We talked about last year, we were kind of on our show, we were going, man, I'd love to see Bobby Wagner get signed, right? To play like Quay and then whichever linebacker you end up drafting. Obviously, end up being Edgerrin Cooper. Looking back on it, Bobby Wagner had one hell of a year. I mean, he was top 3, top 5 linebacker in the entire league. Edgerrin Cooper finished really high as well, obviously. Could you imagine that 4-3 base with Quay Walker, Edgerrin Cooper, and Bobby Wagner? It would have been an absolute mess, right? Yeah. So, to me, Dre Greenlaw kind of feels like that. Now, I don't think Dre Greenlaw is Hall of Fame caliber based off what he's done to this point. I think Bobby Wagner personally is. He's kind of got the entire resume that screams Hall of Famer, maybe not first ballot. But in terms of Dre Greenlaw, how would you guys feel about bringing Dre Greenlaw in if he does hit free agency this year?
2 big thumbs up.
Tim's all about it.
2 big thumbs up. I think I think you're not watching football if you don't want a guy like that on your defense. Period. If they can work it out, I think he would fit in well. I really do. I just don't know how aggressively they would pursue him in free agency. But I have no problem with Dre Greenlaw being a Packer at all. I think it's a great option.
Someone that's got a little bit of experience already playing in the NFL, kind of knows his footing. What may be nice, or looking at it through another lens, is like Cooper got a chance to play because we didn't make a move on Wagner or anything like that. He got reps in this year. All right, if you bring Dre Greenlaw in and he's still recovering from his injury or whatever, he can play him on the 4-3 and then take him out. We could still go 2 if Quay's back. You have a little bit more options. Maybe you shore that up before the draft if you know that you have a talent, a commodity beforehand. Yeah.
All right. Let's see what the chat's saying. Jen Wright says injuries. A very good point, right? Yeah. AFAM says San Francisco might have won that Super Bowl with him. I 100% agree with that.
True.
Coach Lynn talks about the Achilles worries me, right? And people say, well, look at what Aaron Rodgers did off that Achilles. He had a pretty damn good year. Quarterback's way different than linebacker, boys.
Yep.
Lord of mercy, that's a whole different animal there. So, yeah, that's something that comes into play for sure. And some people would look at that like, nope, not signing him. I'm looking at it, being the cheapskate I am, going with that, drive the value down.
Yeah, it's got the yellow tag on it. That's a clearance rack for sure.
There you go. Why overpay for Dre Greenlaw when Dre Campbell is available? Says somebody ask him to kindly leave the chat. Oh man, poor Dre Campbell. Anybody heard from him lately?
No.
But I heard that that jersey still got to get that picture done, right?
Yeah, we got to figure that out, man. We got to get somebody on that for sure. I got to be honest with you, man. My plate's becoming very, very full with this show now. As it's growing, I'm looking around going, I don't know when I'm asleep. I'm trying to get everything put together.
Next time, I'll just grab it next time I'm in town. We'll just go do it at the local supermarket. We'll walk in and tell them.
Greg S. says Devontae Adams, a wide receiver for the New York Jets, has received a run blocking grade of 84.1 from PFF. This grade was given for his ability to block while moving. So I think it's more of like an impact block type thing, it sounds like. That was one of the things, like when you think of Devontae Adams, I don't think of him as a great blocker, right? I think route runner, strong hands, smart football player, the master of choice routes, right? That's pretty interesting that his blocking grade was that high, if indeed that is correct by Greg S. here. So interesting there. Kind of checks another box if for some reason Devontae does want to come home. Dave Colvin in the Patreon group says X, Shakeups, Robert Saleh, and Luke Getsy all here in Green Bay. I believe we could see some more free agency acquisitions happen because of these guys having insight and influence with players around the league. Good chance this could be a storyline in the offseason. Not seeing Saleh and Getsy are going to stay, but what do you guys think? Yeah, I think Robert Saleh could potentially what is it? Is it DJ Reed that played for the Jets, guys?
Yeah. Yep, number 3. He was that free agent, right? I like him.
Yep. As a cornerback, DJ Reed, 70.7 PFF grade last year, and obviously Robert Saleh probably got a pretty good working relationship with him. If Robert Saleh does stay in the building somehow, some way, that might be a connection there. So very interesting. So appreciate you, Dave. Tim, you got anything to add to that, what Dave said here, man?
No, but I do agree with his point that you could see this becoming a storyline as things unfold going forward. So keep your eyes and ears peeled.
Yeah, definitely. Jen Wright points out X wants Tate. Emilio, you weren't on the morning show with us. Did you hear about this?
I did not.
Xavier McKinney tweeted at Devontae Adams, said, hey, pull back up, bro. So on the K Adams.
Tay just said he's got to wait to confer with K Adams to make sure the deal gets done. That's all. That's all we're waiting on.
I thought we were waiting on the Taco Bell money to come in.
Right.
All that Taco Bell money you're giving them.
I see what you did there, Tim. No, it's the other thing too. I don't know if you guys seen it, but all the Packer fans jumping into Instagram and shouting out to Devontae saying, "Come home, come back, come back, come back." I think it's awesome, man. And I've heard a minute amount of fans go, "No, he didn't want to be here. He left." Guys, that is not a real thing. Like he wanted to be a Packer. He got lowballed, disrespected, and they expected him to play the final year of his contract without a contract, and he bucked on them. That's what happened, right?
Yep.
That's the reality.
They came back and tried to give him the bag, and he was like, "Nah, I'm good."
When you think about it, he already made that decision of I'm going back closer to home. Grandma's going to be coming to the games. I'm going to play with my college quarterback.
Once that story broke about the house that he bought out there, it was like, oh,
it's done.
He's gone.
He's out.
Yeah,
yeah. So that's kind of how I see that. He would bring veteran leadership. I'm not expecting Tay Adams to come in here and have 1,500 yards receiving. That's just me personally, right? But I think he would be a sure-handed receiver, a great route runner, a very smart receiver that could add to the receiver room. Now, do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. So highly unlikely, although I wouldn't even be talking about it if there wasn't a chance, because you guys know I'm very conservative on that stuff with the rumors. It just seems like he's really, really interested in it. 2-0 for this. Devontae has been to 2 trash organizations. If he stays in the league, he isn't taking any chances when he knows how good the Packers are. That's something else he mentioned, not on the K Adams interview, but an interview earlier this year too. He talked about, Packers are a first-class organization. When you go to other places, you kind of see that, right? So I could see that being, playing a role in his decision as well. So anything else on Devontae Adams here, guys? As
bring Tay in, bring Greenlaw in, spend all your draft picks on the offensive, defensive line. See ya.
Super Bowl. Done. All right. All right, that's going to do it for hour one. For those of you listening on the pod, we will see you on the other side for hour two. We appreciate y'all.